to So Farscape.
A Farscape fan cast by a fervent fan.
And a fresh-faced first-timer.
I'm Khaki.
I'm Kay, and this is
The story So Farscape.
Farscape.
This is great.
Yes.
we'll practice that a few more times and we'll get it right.
We'll get it right.
I am really, really, really excited to watch this series with you, Kay, because it's one of my favorite science fiction programs.
I think I have years and years ago seen the first episode, but I don't remember anything of it. I know that I watched it and for some reason never started
really
watching
clicked.
the series. But
this is such a great opportunity.
and I've heard so much good things about it.
And I think the right time to discover a 90s sci-fi masterpiece is about almost exactly 22 to 23 years after the fact.
We're just ahead of the curve on the 25th anniversary of Farscape.
So it came out in 1999. Well, we'll do the math and we'll figure something out. So I'm curious, as a fresh-faced first-timer, how much have you sort of absorbed through osmosis?
Almost nothing. I recognize the main characters. I would be able to place them as being from Farscape. But
right, because they're very distinctive designs.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised to see that it was the Henson company that was involved in this. But of course, as soon as you take a good look at Rigel and the pilot, then you realize that, yes, that can only be Jim Henson Company.
I know, and the production is really, really quite extraordinary. And I'll try and sort of restrain myself on behind the scenes stuff in the early episodes. But like in preparing for this show, I've had a lot of fun. Like I've been listening to the director's commentaries for the earlier episodes. They did a lot in the first season.
Yes, I have not done any of that, so I will be coming into this as a complete blank canvas.
Yes, so nobody tweet at Kay, because then no spoilers, please, for this program that's 22 to 23 years old at this point. Speaking of Twitter, though, we actually, we're launching straight away we have a social media presence.
Oh, good.
How do you like that?
How can we be found on social media?
So Farscape on Twitter and on the web as well. I am just no good at this.
And sofarscape.com maybe?
.com, that's the one.
Yeah, there we go. And Facebook as well, So Farscape, I believe.
Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this in your capabilities from now.
All right, very well.
But hey, before we get into promoting ourselves too much, let's actually do a show. So
so far with the intro.
So Farscape
with the intro. And let's get cracking with the first episode.
Prepare for starburst!
So the very first shot of the very first episode of this wonderful series is a sunset at Cape Canaveral where a dude in a blue Hawaiian shirt is looking sort of melancholy.
Okay, I'm going to go say yes, but it's sunrise.
Wait, hold on. This is okay. So, step one. Why is it sunrise? How can you tell?
Because in the next shot, the sun is higher than in the previous one.
Oh my god. Is it? I mean, I'm looking at it now. It's just zoomed in closer.
You're right. It might be. Could be. No, it's definitely higher.
What a great way to start a fantastic podcast where we're also arguing. No, this is great. We can get into it.
We're looking at the scene where he is snuck out of quarantine, where he's supposed to be at Cape Canaveral.
The rat cage.
That's what they called it, isn't it?
Yeah.
He went AWOL from the rat cage this morning.
It reminded me a lot of that scene in Apollo 13 where the guy who gets replaced at the last minute he's sitting on his car and he's just watching the rocket lift off. He might have had the mumps or he might have not have had the mumps, and that's why he was...
I'm sorry, I was thinking of Armageddon, and I thought you meant Steve Buscemi, the possibly questionable sexual pervert. I thought, did he get swapped out at the last minute? That would probably be better.
No. Apollo 13, that other movie that takes place.
Yes, Gary Sinise.
That's the one, yes.
Yeah, because he might have had that, and then he definitely didn't.
And he was wearing this gorgeous Hawaiian shirt, and he's looking very almost glumly at the space shuttle, which is positioned there.
Right. If you'd seen this shot, would you have been able to guess that there's a fantastic, colourful space epic?
No, I was thinking
he's
this is some sort of drama about why he didn't get to be on the space shuttle, which is about to lift off. That's the kind of thing that it gave me.
It looks like an Australian soap opera with an extremely high stakes season finale.
Yes, it is. It does a bit. It's like flying doctors in space.
Yeah. And then we meet his bestie, DK.
DK?
Yes.
Who has sexy mutton chops.
He does, but damn, that must have been a sad part to play. It's like you're the best friend of the hero and you're never going to come back in the series again.
I'm not, but I'm his bestie.
Yes.
Well, same with his dad, who is an actor that apparently quite a famous actor, Kent McCord.
Ah, yes.
You can he's got this like classic American smug
Crichton,
swagger.
Commander, like he was like Mr. Buck Rogers, like, you know, that's
yeah.
And there's there's actually a
Buck
lot
Rogers Senior.
Actually, noticed a lot of similarities in the beginning with Buck Rogers.
I have no memory of Buck Rogers.
Well, I mean, it starts with Buck Rogers being launched in a space shuttle and going on a mission. I think he's gone on his mission to Jupiter or something, and he gets flung through some mysterious space effects into, like in the case of Buck Rogers, he goes to the 25th century, and in this case, he gets flung off to somewhere else.
We're someplace else. I'll get back to you on these specifics.
Or in the case of Duck Dodgers, to the 24th and a half century.
Oh God, that's not from Darkwing Duck.
That's
or just something like
no. What's the duck called?
I don't know.
The enemy of Bugs Bunny,
Daffy Duck.
Daffy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But so he's a member of IASA, so the International Astronautic Space Agency, or Astronaut and Space Agency, I suppose.
Aeronautics
and Space Agency. That's the one. Yeah.
It's not an astronaut agency.
Well,
like NASA is the National Astronaut Slut Agency.
And there's an interesting chemistry that they had with him and his dad, which is absolutely nothing like real NASA astronauts had. Because Dad is kind of like, I was just a space jockey who was just like, flying shit by the seat of my pants. Yeah. And no, even the first astronauts, they had 2 degrees and they also happened to be like pilots and everything. It's there was never the barnyard pilot flying for space shuttles for NASA.
Jocks.
No, there isn't. And both of them have that vibe. Yeah. And this guy is he's supposed to be
It's like he's embarrassed to be a space nerd.
He's supposed to be this big scientist, and yet he's portrayed he's from Iowa, which, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying Iowa because apparently a disappropriate number of astronauts come from Iowa.
Ohio, isn't it?
Ohio? That's one of the two. It's like one of those northern states.
It's one of those with too many vowels.
It's got Ohio's in it, so it's like...
Good gravy. But that's a very good point. There are no space jocks. Nobody gets to trundle off into space with. But I really did like their chemistry. He's got this thing where he's in his dad's shadow. His dad's really impressed by his son. This is a
you are the scientist that I never was, which just said makes no sense. But
you don't see a lot of positive father son or just in general male relationships in science fiction.
I guess they could do it because they don't need the dramatic tension that they usually need to have dysfunctional relationships between father and son to make them worth, and they can just show a positive relationship because I know it's we're not going to see him again.
Yes, exactly. We don't need to put any drama in here.
No. Well, the only thing is maybe the thing he's lost, that he's his dad is gone and everybody else is missing, and so we go to the launch sequence, and I mean I had some scientific issues with that.
Okay, tell me all about your scientific issues with the
first start.
Yep.
He is solo pilot on the space shuttle, which is unusual because he doesn't have a co-pilot. There's nobody else on board.
I've been up on the shuttle before, Dad.
No, and he is the cargo.
Right?
So him and his module are in the cargo hold of the space shuttle.
Oh, okay. That explains.
Because they get launched by an arm.
Yeah.
The shuttle...
Okay, in this case, I have new technical issues.
Okay.
In this case.
Yes.
Well, okay, so I was going to ask, I thought he was he was the sole pilot of the space shuttle, and then he moved to the space plane, and then he went to and had to
so.
And then he's so he pilots the shuttle and he pilots the space plane, but that brings me to the other issue. How the hell did he get in there? Because he clearly didn't move from the pressurized cabin of the shuttle at first.
I mean, not that you can see. I'm looking at one of the...
And if he was the passenger, he would have to be put in that plane whenever they loaded the cargo room for the space shuttle.
Yeah.
Which happens 2 or 3 days in advance. So it'd have been a long ride in that tiny little capsule. That takes a lot of time.
Well, it is an experimental craft. Maybe the secondary experiment is a long-term space toilet.
Yeah. On your back. That would be great.
Yeah.
But yes, there's some interesting shaky cam video when he's launching out of the space shuttle, and it's no, it wouldn't be shaking. It's this is all very slow drifting. There's no shaky cams we are drifting away from.
But he hits atmosphere.
Oh, that happens later. That's when he starts going on.
This is when he fires the boosters. Yeah.
And I'm just okay, so we are going to speed up by braking against the atmosphere.
It's a theory. It has to do with overcoming atmospheric friction.
Are you completely insane?
Well, okay, so it is like future space, science. It makes use of things that to us seem contradictory.
Yeah.
Like slingshotting around a planet, okay. within its frame of reference.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
No.
No,
And
you can slingshot relative to another body that it's orbiting, and that
Right.
you maybe aren't yet.
Yeah, they're being pulled in by gravity and thereby accelerating against the atmosphere, and it doesn't work like that.
We don't know that it works
Yeah.
like that, but that's what they're trying to prove. So
Fair
they have,
point.
and I kind
They
of
have fantasy.
hey,
science.
every
Yeah, no, true,
scientific hypothesis is fantasy until it gains enough evidence to be. I mean,
Okay.
there's the imagination that the atom is splittable was fanciful at one point.
True. They thought that the atom was the smallest bit of matter, and then
Right, and then they thought that about protons and electrons.
Yeah,
and
and
then
it
they
turns
thought
out
that
they're
there
not
were
quite
quarks
that
and-
there as well. Yeah, no, fair enough.
It did come back later in the episode where it was recognized by
The space aliens, we have fantastically much more advanced technology.
but not by the pilot.
Oh,
Okay, we're getting ahead of
Right,
ourselves,
yes.
but okay. So for me, I've dropped through a wormhole through time and space to like back to 1999, where 18-year-old Khaki was watching this shit for the first time, and like my attention was divided between, I think at the time, like Star Trek Voyager, which was still using models, and Babylon 5, which was using janky CGI on a lot of it, and then this was gorgeous CGI.
It is. I'm really surprised at the quality of it. It holds up tremendously. I mean, it might be the low resolution, but even then, it holds up really well. It looks amazing.
A beautiful art direction. It's gorgeous. Makes use of a lot of light and color.
It's the Henson Workshop. So
So they took okay. So the bit of a backstory here. The whole series sort of started. Its genesis was the Jim Henson Workshop wanting to showcase what they could do. Like as early as 1992, and the show came out 7 years later.
Yeah.
They were talking about that they wanted to do a weekly show to just show off what they could do, which was extraordinary.
They did things like the Storyteller and stuff like
Yeah.
that, which was like brilliant.
Yep.
And I guess this is Storyteller in space so far. And I mean, like, I love the aliens. I mean, there's a few that are clearly straight from the Jim Henson Workshop.
Who's Yoda?
Just little green guy. Trains warriors.
Huh.
I mean, one of them is an actual Muppet. But before we get there,
Yes.
come on. The wormhole.
Yes, the second Buck Rogers tribute.
Wait, is there an actual wormhole
No,
in Buck Rogers?
but it's got the whole like him like spinning out in his spaceship with blue space lights and him getting frosted over, and it like there was like clearly some
homage.
Yeah, let's call it that. Which again brings me to another point about the technology stuff and like the fact, like no, seriously, like his helmet, his helmet is like it's straight from a fucking X-wing. It's got it's got the face shield,
eye visor,
but there's no microphone.
Nope.
There's no oxygen supply. There's
no pressure suit. There's no
nothing,
collar.
There's absolutely.
He's just in there in a jumpsuit in space pajamas.
Yes, that's exactly with his space sweater underneath it.
Yeah.
But I thought that as well. Like they had the whole the suit up room at the beginning, and they were like they were going through the motions like he was being suited up, but they were not in fact actually suiting him up, which I thought was like kind of cool.
I guess because he's just cargo.
Yeah, at that point, yes.
I guess his craft is not intended to make re-entry, even though it's got the sort of heat shield on the bottom.
I know it must be. It has a landing gear as well,
and it has. Oh yeah. But probably the idea was that it would be recaptured by the shuttle, and they would bring him back.
It makes sense. Depends on how far what he was planning to do with his ludicrous speed, which he was supposed to like achieve.
He had no idea. That would have probably been a reason to wear a helmet. I think an actual ceiling helmet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We have no idea where you're going to go, and makes no difference really. How like your oxygen supply isn't going to run out faster if it has a slightly larger cabin to fill.
True, but there is the sort of safety of having an extra layer of... Yes, okay, no, maybe it's accessibility for the space toilet. Speaking of space toilets, the wormhole looked like a water drain.
It did, yes. It was very much water effects, which were like easy to do back in the 90s.
I don't know that was the case. I think this was CGI, in which case it would have been incredibly expensive to render.
True, but I mean...
Because you had like the sort of triangular apertures and ripple effects in there.
Yeah, it looked great. I mean, like flame was the easiest to do, and then water came the second for CGI, and then like...
Wait, what are you talking about? What are you basing this on?
Hearsay?
Well, okay. So I had a dubious flirtation with 3ds Max in the early 2000s, inspired by, among other things, Farscape and Lex. Like water has internal reflections,
right?
And it has
external reflections,
and caustic reflections and subsurface scattering. Like all of that's incredibly expensive.
Okay.
I mean, the easiest is just like, I guess, a mirror or like flat matte surfaces.
Or just like clouds.
Also there.
Or the space tunnel. What did Doctor Who use for the time tunnel space effect?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like as early as the 60s, you had the sort of time tunnel effect. That was a sort of video feedback, sort of like an electronic Drosta effect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when I was watching this the first time as an enthusiastic young, I mean, I think I was even a film student briefly for a trimester there.
Yes.
Yeah, and I saw that wormhole effect. Like, it just blew me away, and the light was coming through. It was so spectacular. And then he winds up in an asteroid field.
Ah, goddamn asteroid fields. There's
I
always
know.
an asteroid field. And asteroid fields don't look like that, but never mind.
No, especially like if you're just hugging behind an asteroid, you should be extremely worried.
Yes.
And not just casually on your radio, hey, Canaveral.
Canaveral.
And that's the other thing. It's like, yeah, their radio discipline. It's like you don't talk like that. Hey, Dad, are you there?
Dad, where are you guys?
He got his brain scrambled. Like, my favorite line from this is his line, which I think Ben Browder delivered wonderfully, which was, God, I had.
Oh, God, I hit.
Which is just...
Yes. Okay, yeah, did you now? Where did you get that? It's like, this spaceship is more advanced than I thought it was.
Canaveral?
Canaveral?
Canaveral.
Canaveral.
Dad?
Dad,
Canaveral?
Yeah.
where are you guys? Where's
That's not good radio discipline.
And then we get the credits, which is the first time. So how
Again,
did you
Buck Rogers.
feel when you saw this? Because like you just seen the spaceship, and then
But like I said, it's like looks like a bit of a homage to Buck Rogers. It's like it's the whole like, you know, man in space shuttle transported to a different time or space or place. At, was it called again, unrecorded speeds? It was literally a line that one of the NASA scientists uses in the beginning of the episode. Yes.
At previously unrecorded speeds.
Which I thought was like hilarious as well. It's like, he's going to be moving at unrecorded speeds. It's like,
what does that mean? We're very good at recording speeds.
I was going to say, scientifically it makes no sense, but
it immediately goes wrong when he's in the asteroid field.
Yes.
He gets clipped by I don't know if it's a drunk driver, but certainly
it's a bone of contention about like what I had about like the motivation about certain characters in this episode. But
yeah,
it's like he is literally drifting there, and these ships buzz past him 3 times, and on the 3rd time, one of them clips his wing and goes crashing into an asteroid. And apparently, that is the guy's fault who is just drifting there doing bugger all.
That makes his module, his perfectly stationary parked car, for the crime of having his mirror on the outside. No, it is now a death pod.
Yeah,
a white death pod.
It is his fault. He killed the other guy who flew into him. It's like,
Well, maybe that's just how jurisprudence works in this part of space. It's a you touched it last precedent.
It seems like, I mean, there seems to be some odd legalities going on anyway, but we'll get to that. So next up is the first shot we get of the Moira, I believe it's called.
Moya.
Moya.
It's not the Moya.
Oh, Moya. It is Moya, because it's like...
That's her name.
It is, well, it is a... how do they call it again?
A biomechanoid, a living ship.
Which is like quite beautiful.
And
it does, at least it doesn't have the weird gut sounds that the Traveller did in Star Trek. No, in the Tin Man episode.
Oh, yes. I know what you're gum to.
The background sounds in that ship were literally recorded by putting a microphone against someone's stomach and recording the gurgling sounds that his guts were making. Well,
there is still like a lot of gurgling and like bubbling and fluid mechanics on there. But yeah, all of them have a sort of mechanical vibe to them as well. So he's caught in the magnetic field, and he's dragged into this into the hold of this craft.
And I thought that was really cool that they had this tractor beam pod, I suppose, which was moving ahead of him, and like
the gravity dildo.
I think that's what you want to call it.
Well, it's a giant sort of wand. I think they call it the docking web, as if there's sort of like a gravity splurge.
And then he gets drawn in. His ship gets put down, which when you see the
that was
landing
quick
gear.
Thinking on his part, by the way.
To
like
extend
just
the landing gear.
Oh shit, landing gear, and fold the wings in once he realized
which was also like impressive.
So he's on this ship. He has his own spacecraft now, and that he's going to fly that for a while.
Well, is it going to come back in later episodes?
I mean, you don't think so immediately because it's immediately
useless.
Set on fire.
I was going to say, and it's useless. Oh, that was a weird thing as well. Yeah, you get these little bots coming up and like investigating the ship, and it's like suddenly.
What do you think those are called?
Oh,
it's your first time. You get them. Scunners?
No, that's Red Dwarf.
That's
Red Dwarf, I know. It's like,
it can't be a reference to everything.
no, you are correct. I shouldn't go. Let's stay a little bit in the same thing. Let's call them scuttlebots.
Scuttlebot? Oh my god, I love that! Yeah. So he meets one of these scuttlebots which scuttles over the canopy of his craft, possibly thereby causing the fire on the interior.
Well, that's the impression I got, at least.
Yeah,
I was
right.
like, how the hell did that happen? But yeah, it's like...
it's probably some misunderstanding of technology.
And he pops the canopy in a this big gaseous release, and he quickly hurries out of the ship.
That one did make me wonder whether this was a reusable craft, because
at that point,
if that's the only way to get out is to eject the canopy.
Well, that was what led me to this. How did he get into there? Until you mentioned that he was probably loaded in as cargo, which at first I thought he was piloting the shuttle as well when it was being launched. But it's they're probably launching those shuttles quite frequently at this point, or at least that's the idea, because that's still what they were doing at the 90s. They were still working towards.
That's true.
We'd lost it. The
Great Pause hadn't started yet.
Yeah, they'd lost the Challenger, of course, in '86, but Columbia went in. It probably was after this, because
after Y2K.
Because I'm pretty sure that it actually said Columbia on the side of the ship that you seeing launched.
Oh dear!
It was probably shots from the Columbia that they used for this
one.
Well,
you never can quite see, because originally he was supposed to be a NASA pilot. That was in the script, and then it was realized that in order to be able to use NASA iconography, NASA would have to have script approval on all. Yes, scripts.
Ah, God, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, they still,
which fair, but
they still use the meatball logo.
Oh yeah. It's clearly an homage.
And we have him walking through the corridors of the ship.
Well, under threat by one of these scuttlebots, as you call it. Well, it's got a lighter. It sort of flashes at him.
And then suddenly you get the white out of the screen, and then apparently this is enough motivation for him to keep moving around. And he gets prodded in the back of his leg a few times.
See, we can sort of imagine that this is the moment where Crichton was executed, and the rest of the series is just his dying brain.
Like the Garfield moment.
Whoa. That's heavy.
Yes.
This is where he enters the Tommy Westfall universe.
Tommy Westfall?
Oh God, it's from what was it? St. Elmo's Fire, or it's a hospital drama in the 80s, where the final episode, zooming out from the hospital, and the hospital was in a snow globe.
Yeah.
Next to the bed of a boy who was in a coma.
Oh, and it was
and then some of the doctors are And you saw some of the actors who played doctors playing other characters there, and he just looks at that all day long. But okay, so here's where it gets really, really deep.
Yeah.
That show had crossovers with other shows. That was normally in the 80s.
Yeah.
You had the same characters
this must
appearing.
Be a crossover episode. Yeah.
So that boy was called Tommy Westfall. If you figure out every show that had a crossover with another show that had a crossover with St. Elmo's Fire has to have also been in his imaginary universe. And it's at one point 60% of all television took place in the mind of this boy.
Oh well, it's good for your franchise.
Now we get introduced to some of the other cool characters,
the
and
bridge
honestly,
scene.
my favorite bridge of any spacecraft. Moya's is so gorgeous. You've got the vaulted ceilings, you've got the copper tones, the earth tones, you've got almost no recognizable control station or whatever. It's a vast floor.
There's obviously there's a few stations here and there, but what you're supposed to do, you never get a shot. You never get a shot of the actual control. Well, later you get a shot of the trackball manual control thing. But
yes, I noticed that too.
It was someone used a big trackball type device and then put it on a joystick and then mounted it on a rotating pedestal. And
I wonder if we were doing this with someone who was actually born after this had aired. A 22-year-old adult at this time, would they be able to recognize one of those ergonomic trackball mice?
Maybe, I don't know idea. And yes, we see the various other people on the ship. So Blue Dome, or whatever she's called. I forgot her name. I don't think.
What do you think she's called?
I'm trying to think if I actually got her name.
I can tell you, but what?
She's the priest of something or the other. I got that. I have very few notes on her. That's the one character I have the least on.
Do you know why I think that is?
Yeah,
because she can make sense. She talks sense a lot of the time.
This is true. And
whenever she opens her mouth, which is not that often.
Okay, let's not go Pandoran on her, but that seems a little bit unfair. For a start, she's not feline and tall enough, but yes,
but she is gorgeous.
She is. She's beautiful.
Like
She's got the spots
texture
and the hair. Yeah, it's not the hair, the thing.
Well, hair, that's the department of the other alien that we meet on the bridge. And there's who has like tentacles and tattoos.
Oh yes, tentacles.
That's what we're going with.
That's what I'm going to call it. I mean, I could go with Space Gimli, but let's go with tentacles.
He's a bit tall for Space Gimli, but then again,
I know, but he does have the face for it.
John Rhys-Davies,
and he does give a good tongue lashing as like.
Yes.
It's like eat your heart out, Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
And I think his name is actually Dargo.
Oh, very good. Dargo.
Dargo. It's okay. So there's an R in there.
D apostrophe ARGO.
Oh,
yeah,
like
it's
the Argo.
The Argo. It's a space one. Yeah. And Miss Blue. Did you have a name for her?
Blue.
You're so good at coming up with.
I haven't got a name for her.
Do you
yet.
think is anything coming to you?
No.
In this moment, before I spoil it with her actual names, Misty.
Misty. Let's go with Misty Blue.
Misty Blue. That's Pauzoto Zan. Zan is her name.
Okay. And I'm terrible with names, so that's the thing. So yes, we've got Tentacles and Zaul. Let's go with
Zan.
Let's go
Zaul?
with Misty. Misty is what she said.
And they see this weird alien come aboard.
To them, it's not an alien. To them, it's a peacekeeper.
Well, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
They would immediately recognize him as a peacekeeper.
Peacekeeper? I'm human. Homo sapien sapien.
Yeah, they didn't recognize his craft, which is why they were curious.
Your ship appeared from nowhere, and we don't know that technology.
If they'd seen his face, they would have brought him aboard.
Yes.
I liked that when he walks onto the bridge, he can't understand them. They sound so alien.
It is. It's like
all
weird
these
sounds,
weird noises, and
until he gets injected with the ankle babel fish, or the mitochondrial whatever they call them,
the babel bugs.
I like it. The babel bugs.
Yes, the translator microbes that colonize the base of the brain, help us understand each other.
Yes.
Why you weren't injected at birth, I cannot fathom. Now, that one I thought was weird.
Yeah.
If you're injected at birth with translator microbes, how do you develop language?
Good point. Interesting. I also noticed that the injector was pushed against the sole of his boot rather than his actual ankle, but
I like to think that it just drilled way down and just drilled straight.
Let's assume so.
They're then very quickly, their weird noises resolve into language that he can understand.
I suggest you answer him quickly. You know how Luxons can be.
It was a good scene. It did a good morph from alien gibberish to...
So how was that for you as a first-time watcher?
I mean, I kind of expected it. As soon as I heard that the aliens were speaking alien, I knew that there was going to be coming something to make him understand.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the injector thing, I was like, okay, well, apparently we're going the babelfish route. But I thought the transition was very well done, how it went from alien to understandable. And then we have the first other alien other than Tentacles, who was I'm going with Mushroom Head, which is a bit obvious.
Vito. He can't be Mushroom Head.
Vito Fiasco. No, wait, that's stolen from somewhere else.
I think that Dominar Rigel the 16th.
That was great. That was a good name.
Yeah,
but no, that was the name. Rigel 16th is not Mushroom Head, but the pilot is the Mushroom Head.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Yes, no, I get you now. See, he appears as a hologram.
Yeah.
In this clamshell, which is so cool.
Clamshell?
Yes, that's where the hologram appears. It's sort of this clamshell, and then there's like a bubble of holography
I hadn't noticed the fact that it was actually inside a physical object, which showed the pilot.
Because it happens to also match the dome of his.
Exactly. That's why I thought it was just his
carapace.
I kind of assumed that to be part of the projection or something.
Did you realize that the voice of Pilot? Do you know what? I won't actually say it. Let's see if you ever figure it out.
All right. I shall try to listen into the next episode and find out who does the voice of Pilot. Now, this is a challenge.
This is going to be a fun little game.
I'll happily take that challenge on because I probably won't get it. But yes, let's go for that. Next episode, I will have 3 names, which I think are going to be the voice of Pilot. And
there we go.
2 of them are probably going to be facetious, and 1 might be an actual guest, but we'll see where it goes.
That seems like a good pattern for this show.
There we go.
Rigel,
eyebrows.
Okay,
he's
so
huge.
Moving on to Rigel, whom you described as guybrows,
eyebrows. Oh, guybrows. The guybrows 3-foot, yes. There's a little bit of gremlin in him, I suppose, with the earbrows. Earbrows, that's probably better. Let's go with earbrows.
Right, yeah.
Earbrows.
You know what? I think that's what they're actually called. I loved his outfit. And this is something that I was a little bit confused about. All of these prisoners are wearing their own clothes.
Yes. Even though the fact that they apparently have been on penal planets for like
years,
who knows how
or
long.
cycles, as they call them.
Yes, I spent 3 cycles on a maximum labor planet.
The local space equivalents of years.
Zan is wearing her blue, like a gown and a Dargo.
Tentacles,
yes, that's right. Their big challenge at this point is to get rid of what they call the control collar.
Of the ship, yes.
There's nothing I can do. Not while the control collar is still in place.
Which is like a sort of huge building, like attached to the outside of this giant biomechanoid.
I did not actually notice at first that was like a separate thing. I thought that was just like part of the ship and like.
How would you know, right?
No, totally. And apparently, you can remove this by reaching into the control panel and ripping out a few of the space guts of the ship.
So that's interesting because that was what Dargo did out of desperation, like ripping synapses, which
are apparently tubes with liquid in them.
And according to Pilot, unrelated.
Those synapses we're tearing out are not wired to the control collar.
I shall keep pulling until I find the ones that are.
But when it starts to happen, like Zan is sort of in a trance and her hands are moving at crazy speed over this control while she's praying. Yeah. And she asks him whether he did it. And the code wall is dimming.
The coding wall, it's dimming.
Yes.
Which I thought was beautiful imagery.
That was an interesting turn of phrase, yes.
I guess she just randomly hit on the code after having tried a billion.
And she was like using her priestly powers to try and like break the code of the control collar. And apparently Tentacles ripping out the guts of the control panel happened to coincide with the event of the collar coming off.
The control collar is coming off.
And with the collar off, Moya can perform the single defensive maneuver of which she's capable.
It is the single defensive maneuver that she is capable of.
Starburst.
I hate Starburst.
Which is basically running away.
Yes, but zapping away, apparently, like at crazy... Like, it creates its own sort of gash in space.
Yes, it was
and
some
travels
sort
through
of wormhole portal, which they apparently never heard about.
I don't think it's a wormhole.
No.
Because it's like a ring of energy that it projects... Like, it starts at the back. It travels around the ship.
Yeah.
And then it sort of manifests, and then the ship travels.
And then it peels back again, or the ship moves out to the other side of this bubble, which it's created.
Which is like apparently like unique to Leviathans, these biomechanoid ships, because now they're scot-free.
Yep.
And the
although
command
they
carrier
did bring one of the space fighters from the opposing party.
Yes.
Along.
So it's not just for the ship itself, which is what I initially thought when I saw it, because like there's this skin effect on the ship where the skin of the ship turns blue and it's all
that
electrified.
could just be reflecting or something.
And then
cut to the scene on the bridge.
The bridge of the command carrier.
Yes, Captain Bail Organa.
That's actually surprisingly good.
At first I thought it was like, is that the same guy who plays Q in Star Trek? But like, there's a resemblance at first.
I see what you mean. It's in his sort of stance of disdain.
Yes.
And his dismissal and his haughtiness.
But his name is Crace, right?
Crace, very good.
Crace,
Commander
yes.
Crace. And he's got, like, his hair is gorgeous. It's just millimeter razor, just like his beard.
Right. He does have a ponytail, doesn't he? Like...
Well, if you look at it, like, it's not a ponytail. Like, the female officer there has it as well.
Oh, yeah.
The ponytail is wrapped in ribbon.
Yeah.
Like a Q. I think that's what you call it.
Oh, right. Yeah. So it's like kind of like the top knot from a samurai, but much lower.
Yeah.
It's like a back knot.
Actually, the back knot. Yes, that's right. His sort of millimeter, like, razored haircut is so gorgeous. Like, everything is so precise.
Yeah, and he's got the little mustache from Flash Gordon.
What, Ming?
Ming. Well, not quite Ming.
It sort of reminds me more of, like, Tony Stark.
Oh, yes.
In the Marvel films.
Yes,
who also had these
totally,
very precise,
yes,
like, exactly
absolutely.
angular. And he's on the bridge of the command carrier, which has these gorgeous, like, Soviet constructivist.
A little bit Star Warsy. It's a little bit, the big open bridge with the controls on the side and the window at the front.
But the red, white, and black is such a cool color scheme.
Very imperialistic, very much like, okay, we are clearly meant to be the bad guys, and we are apparently like escorting this prisoner ship, which has been in the middle of a mutiny and escaped, and now we are.
Yeah.
And he immediately develops a personal quest against our hero John Crichton. Who is like, because he killed his brother.
Whoever killed my brother will pay dearly.
By hanging there in space doing nothing.
He attacked his brother in his white death pod.
You charged my brother's prowler in that white death pot of yours.
Yeah,
which
like
is
he's
an
insane military commander.
That was straining my suspension of disbelief a little bit, that's like, because he literally was reviewing the footage of it happening, and it's like, oh no, this is clearly his fault. It's like, I mean, if he was grief-stricken, I could have bought that, but like, he didn't show any of that. It was just like immediate anger at his brother being unjustly killed by someone doing nothing at all, just like getting flown into by his gung-ho brother who had been making close-by passes.
It's like some crazy motorcyclist driving past a parked Renault Twingo in the streets of Paris and then accusing
doing a wheelie and then banging against the wing mirror of that car and then blaming the driver of that car.
He was right. He was the Ayrton Senna of space pilots.
And
Crace blamed it on the, do I have a driving reference for someone who sort of stands still? Oh, yeah, the James May of space pilots.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So we're back on Moya now. Moya has come out of Starburst while Crace is all confused, and Crichton finally gets a moment to breathe and like ask what's going on.
Not like he's been doing anything really. It's like he wasn't involved, but basically he gets confronted immediately by Tentacles and
who tongue lashes him
and finds himself in a prison cell.
But not before Dargo and Zan get to have a scene together. Now, that one I thought was we'd been following Crichton so far, like the fish out of water human, and now we see two aliens,
having a little bit of a moment,
and seeing how alien the aliens are to each other.
Yes.
She asked him how old he is.
30. Oh, you're but a boy.
You are but a boy.
It's like, no, I've been to 2 campaigns. Oh, and she's
Only
like,
2.
Oh, 2.
Only 2.
That's nice, darling.
The fucking dick measuring contest. The fucking balls on her.
She's supposed to be a priest of some sort of, like, let's not call it a sex cult. That's like a little bit too far. But like, apparently she's
they
like,
do enjoy the fourth sensation.
The fourth sensation. That was it. I was going to say the fourth pleasure.
I've experienced this.
Not lately.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
I loved how she introduced herself, like, even among my people, I was a bit of an anarchist. And then my favorite, like, philosophically, a very challenging line.
Actually, I was the leading anarchist.
Like, what the f*** does that mean? How can you be the leading anarchist?
Yes.
She said it with such relish and smugness.
I guess there'll be a lot more to her. It's like she seemed a little bit undervalued in this episode, I'll say. It's like she was there, but I didn't get a lot of her.
Yes, I think that's very fair to say, and I think that's also partly because like she makes sense and good decisions most of the time.
Yeah, which is like generally not a good recipe for a long-running show.
Speaking for someone who makes sense but doesn't make good decisions, we get Rigel butting in on Crichton's prison cell.
Yes. He comes moving in and like starts. I have no idea what he's doing with the controls there. He's just sitting there going beep, 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 beep on the controls of the cell, and nothing actually happens. And
it does eventually. He's trying to open the locker with their possessions.
Oh, that's
which takes like the entire scene for it to happen.
Oh, that's what's going on. I thought he was like messing with the control settings or something. But yeah, he seems to be a little bit of loose fingered for someone who's supposedly in control of the planet.
Yeah, and he's a bit of a voyeur. Like his first thing when he looks through the suspiciously wide bars to look at John Crichton's rock-hard astronaut ass.
Why did you take off my clothes?
I thought you were going to say abs.
Potato.
He notices the other human sitting there in the corner in her spacesuit at the time.
That, like he calls it, and at the time, like, okay, so I was so overwhelmed the first time I saw it, I thought that this was going to be an alien. I had not put together, we've actually seen the species that occupies... No. We've seen Commander Crace and
all the other humans on the ship.
All the other... Yeah, exactly.
It didn't occur to you that it was just a flight suit.
Exactly.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be wild and alien, and then out comes... Here comes the sun.
Officer Aeryn's son.
Well,
do you have a nickname for her?
Oh, no, I haven't got
you and your fun nicknames?
No.
See, this is one of the things that Crichton does a lot. He has these cool, like, cultural references.
Look, Lassie here is trying to communicate with us.
So you get to be the Crichton for this show, really.
I suppose I do, yes. No, I didn't expect her really to be a thing, although I should have, because, like, clearly she's the normal human in this space who knows about things, and he is the stranger in the strange land.
So she immediately like judo head smashes him against the wall.
He gets thrown to the ground and gets put in a very compromising position.
Yes, the sort of scissor grip.
The
thigh master.
Squeeze you between the thighs, yes. Squeeze you like a ripe melon and kind of headlock with. It's like it's a very intimate position to keep a man in. It's like, or anybody for that matter.
Yeah, she goes rank and regiment.
What is your rank and regiment?
Because she recognized him as a member of her species.
Yes, and she immediately assumes him to be in the service. And I can't believe you weren't like weeded out at birth. You're a weakling, or you're like it's like. Oh.
They do have a lot of like species supremacists.
It is a bit weird, isn't it? Like, and I mean, who made the humans the enforcers anyway? It's like, are we going to learn about that later? I'll try to keep those questions to a minimum.
Yeah, because I'm going to struggle. I tell you what, yeah, okay. Let's see if I can give you a couple of hypotheses. A. Yeah. You are completely correct, and someone put them in charge of policing the universe.
Okay.
B, total coincidence, on the inside, she's actually a bunch of slugs in a skin suit.
Yes.
C, androids. It sounds like your cat is experiencing the fourth sensation.
My cat is always experiencing the fourth sensation around this time, which is
hunger.
Like hunger.
Now we'll come up with some more hypotheses as things go along.
Let me try to come up with the next one, shall I?
Okay, no, yeah, that's right. Based on the information you have, I mean, we see Crichton already struggling to make sense of the world that he finds himself in.
What the hell is this?
When the other prisoners arrive for, my possessions have been finally unlocked, and it is time for us to eat.
Eat what?
Yes, that's. I thought they put a interesting emphasis. I guess if you're a prisoner, that's an important thing. It's like you go dinner time, like everything gets dropped. Although Rigel the 16th does manage to grab the ring. That will come back later in the episode, I believe.
Does it? Wait,
yeah,
does it?
It's in the puzzle ring that he uses to get the guards with.
The puzzle ring is around Crichton's
finger.
Neck.
It's the one he's actually wearing.
It's around his neck.
Oh,
He's
that's
wearing
the lucky ring.
The good luck charm.
So that's not the same ring.
Yuri Gagarin's cock ring.
Ooh, it wasn't very well hung then, was he?
Well, that's the puzzle.
But Rigel, that's one. It's like start at the small ring and then you have to expand it. If you have to rub and push it in the right ways and like.
Jesus.
So much for the PG-13 rating.
Yeah, I was going to say. So we see Crace seeing the face of his brother's killer.
Hands like...
Peel back the image. I want to see who is inside.
Peeling back the image, they call it.
Which is like, let's not go there.
It's like space technology.
Who
knows what they see
said, like micrometer radiation scanning, whatever. So we go to dinner. There's like green food cubes. Which is like,
and these balls and these crisps. I thought it was all kind of cool.
And lots of blah blah blah.
I liked how Crichton didn't just die when he ate space food.
Right. I mean, I would have watched the other human being eat and see okay, so she's eating this. So apparently
again,
this is fine.
Maybe a human, maybe an android, maybe some slugs.
Fair enough. But as far as he knows, she's human, and as far as I know as well.
They were able to detect that he wasn't the same species as her, though. Your
by
body
her
has
intestinal flora.
You have some decidedly unfamiliar bacteria living within you.
Now, how did they get those samples, do you think?
Well, I mean, he wasn't a cell. I mean, there might have been a toilet there, which we didn't see about.
Sooner or later, one of us is going to have to find a bathroom.
Okay, now we're going to have to devote an entire episode to
Space
what are
toilets.
the toilets like on Moya.
Yeah.
Even I do not know. We never find out. I wonder if it's like Lex. Do you remember that gonzo Canadian-German sci-fi
I
series?
don't remember the toilet.
So on their living ship, the gigantic insectoid creature, you do see the toilet, and it's this sort of fleshy throne with a tongue.
Ah, yes.
That gives you a little wipe afterward.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Because, hey, it's all nutrients.
I know.
It all gets reconstituted anyway. That's the whole reason for having a living ship.
And there's the deleted scene from, what's the one with Tim Allen again?
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest, yes. Where Alan Rickman's character gets shown around his quarters. And there's we had to make some assumptions about your anatomy. And you've got this weird pipes and things and gantries and stuff, toilets, and it looks like a fucking torture chamber.
I mean, it must be like the toilets on Moya have to support all of these different species.
Does that ever get resolved? I mean, everybody was a prisoner on Moya.
Yeah.
So was it a prisoner ship, or was the ship itself also a prisoner?
I mean, yes, to both. So it's a prisoner transport.
Yeah.
But the Leviathans exist, and this one was captured and used by these peacekeepers, and they used it as a prisoner transport. So actually, yes, the ship itself was also a prisoner.
Hence the control collar and everything.
Exactly.
And I guess there weren't any actual prison guards on board of the ship or maybe they managed to get rid of them in some sort of coup.
One of the prisoners, the Hynerian Royal, somehow secured the key codes to the prisoners' cells and
there's no piles of dead bodies around.
No, true. And Rigel does talk about like bribing the guards to get the security codes or whatever. Maybe it was a shift change.
Yeah, but none of them are on board, and like I guess that's one of the unresolved mysteries.
I mean, there is one peacekeeper on board now, and she's the ball
but she was
while they're dining. Yeah, she came from the command carrier, but so she's trying to get one of these cool like 2-tined forks.
Yes.
And I love that it was a beautifully designed fork with just is that an actual instrument that people use on Earth anywhere?
I think originally, like, you know, back in like when forks started becoming a thing, they were 2 tines were the norm.
Yeah,
and
it was
then
like a 2-pronged knife
it's
to help with the cutting. Yeah,
exactly. And then I guess like food, and there's a little bit of her fork stealing gets kind of like thrown out, but his fork stealing gets unnoticed.
That is so smart, because we're so convinced that he's this fish out of water at this point. We're not paying attention to he's learning.
Yeah, very fast.
Very fast.
And he should be. He's a scientist, apparently, although he talks like a hick. And
he's a space... Well, okay.
A little bit. It's like it talks to like an Ohioan or a whatever. What did we say again? Hawaiian, not
Hawaiian. Okay, so now there's Hawaiians, 3 places that you think are
Hawaiians, Ohioans, and Ohioans or something.
Iowans. That's the one you're talking about. So what they want out of them two, thinking that he's also a peacekeeper, is knowledge about this planet that they've arrived in and whether it's safe to land at the commerce station.
Well, they ask her. They're catching on to the fact that he's not one of the peacekeepers. Right. Yeah,
realizing that there is a resource that they need because of all the synapses that that Dargo ripped loose.
You also caused Moya to hemorrhage most of her sentient fluid.
Yes.
The ship is crawling along at Hetch 2.
Hetch 2, whatever Hetch is.
I kind of dig that these translator microbes work such that anything that you don't know, that you don't have a common frame of reference for, but that is an absolute, just gets its own word.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, like, you need to have some sort of conversion unit built in. And like, I guess once you learn what it is, it'll start working, or maybe you just like figure it out.
Well, it has to be a new word, because if the translator microbes make it sound like anything else that you already know, then you're going to make incorrect assumptions. Like they talk about a distance unit of a metra. Now, how far is that? Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, so she doesn't give them any information. They decide to land after all, and then we get basically like the cantina shopping scene.
Again, a lot of Jim Henson productions being put to showcase here.
Yeah, and certainly like a gigantic insectoid muppet
with a lot of teeth.
Do you know that was actually an accident?
Oh,
that was like a Spinal Tap miscommunication. The sort of insectoid merchant that Rigel has a chat with was built to entirely the wrong scale. They were supposed to be roughly the same scale, but the insect was 10 times larger, and they had to they spent a whole afternoon trying to wedge it into the set before being able to operate it.
It kind of looks like that, because it kind of looks like it's like a hunky through a doorway, sitting there trying to like have a communication with Rigel, which is like a negotiation which pretty much takes the entire time on planet, because there's a few cutbacks to that, and they're still like talking to it, and then eventually they quickly pull him out of there. But all the time they've been like negotiating on the trinkets that he's like stolen and trying to sell.
Yeah,
I kind of like that. That like apparently the aristocrat is like the biggest crook of them all.
Well, I mean, how do people stay rich? By not parting with money if they can help it.
More, yes.
He's sort of like a Ferengi aristocrat, which I really dug, and he is not intimidated by this giant, like steam spewing, snarling insect monster.
He just knows what it was for. He's like, he's a merchant, he's doing his thing. So cue Captain Organa trying to catch up with them, like landing things on. Like, there's an interesting thing how things happen slowly for a long time, and then all of a sudden they have occurred.
Welcome to science fiction television.
True. They are on the planet where our big hero Tentacles gets to show what a great hero he is with the sword by not actually hitting anybody with it.
It also doesn't look like, honestly, a great sword.
No.
It's really heavy.
And he's like, later on, he's sharpening it. You get these sword sharpening sounds.
He's sharpening it with a cloth.
It's weird, but, you know, and he doesn't impale anybody. He doesn't actually hit anybody with it.
Now, we do get to see this commerce planet does appear to be the planet of the nice hats, because when Zan arrives, she has this cool cowl.
Ah, yes.
That sort of looks like a floral membrane.
Mm.
It's this lovely soft blue cloth.
Yes. And Krace has got his little East German style navy cap on.
I was going to say he was wearing like a fast food hat painted in black leather.
That's kind of what they look like. So yeah, the other thing that I was like thinking about, like, where are you from? And like, I am from Earth. And like my first thought was like,
I'm sorry. She said
he claims to be a human from a planet called Earp.
Earp, yeah. But you know, like, there's the other thing. It's like 80% of all home planets are called Earth or ground or something like that.
That's why I like the translator microbes for her apparently didn't do that job, and they just thought it's ERP.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that feeds into your theory of like we need new words for new things.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Therefore, like
these microbes, these fucking Babel bugs. Oh my God! If they could,
Babel bugs.
If we had Babel bugs and we were listening to your cat, like it would just be.
Feed
I'm
me.
so
Feed
hungry.
me.
It'd just be an aria of hunger.
I am starving.
Cat has never been fed in his entire life. Yeah.
Says local cat.
Yes.
But yeah, it sort of detects when somebody says something that somebody else should not understand and therefore doesn't translate it.
Yeah, I guess
Right?
that works.
It's not that she says, "Oh, he's from a planet called Mud,"
I know about mud.
or
Dirt,
soil, poop, whatever.
Makes sense, yeah. So, yeah, Captain Organa has a big grandstanding about, like, capturing Crichton and...
Crichton.
What?
Okay, so
Isn't that his name, John Crichton?
Crichton.
Crichton.
You're making it into a fun sort of pastiche of Cretin, which honestly is not wrong.
We don't know who this Cretin is.
Crichton, you know. It's like close
Let's
enough.
call the whole thing off.
And
she actually comes to his aid, Aeryn Sun does.
She does a bit after she gets threatened with, like, oh, you might have been exposed to aliens too much.
Peacekeeper High Command has very clear parameters regarding contact with unclassified alien life forms.
Yeah,
Which
that
seems a
is
bit
so
weird.
vindictive. No,
It
it's
is.
pure vindictiveness on his part. Like he's just pulling some
Weird.
some red tape out
Yeah.
of his ass to punish someone that he does not want talking to him.
Which makes really no sense because, like, I mean, I guess that, like, on the prison ship, you get, like, also get exposed to
Hey,
them.
on in Star Wars, we have like a managerial style that involves just choking any bitch that
True.
you disapprove of and just like.
There's only one guy who does
killing.
that, though. That doesn't seem to be institutional, but we don't know how that goes around
Exactly.
here. No,
So
true,
he
true,
just
true,
sort
true.
of undermines and imprisons and accuses, and
Yes.
that's how
So-
you get shit done.
He wanders off. There's the whole scene where Crichton manages to, like, dazzle the guard by, like, using the...
It's a field resourcefulness exercise.
A field resourcefulness exercise.
And suddenly all the guards are cockneys.
Completely, and yeah, they're completely obsessed by this little puzzle ring and
Well,
manages
the other one thinks, now it's a weapon.
What is
It's
this?
a weapon, you fool.
While they're handling Yuri Gagarin's cock ring.
Where did this whole Yuri Gagarin thing come
Okay,
from?
no, it's probably too small to be a cock ring, but maybe like a guiche or something. Maybe a PA.
Oh, that sounds about right. Except
Yeah.
like it's made out of one piece or three pieces actually. There, that seems like too complicated.
So maybe that's a fun sort of chastity game that he was playing. I don't know what Yuri Gagarin was into.
Yeah, right, I got the hang of this.
Now figure out how to put it back together again.
Where does the Yuri Gagarin reference come from? Like, there's like a mention right at the beginning when he's talking about Yuri Gagarin with his dad as well.
So yes,
but I didn't
that's
quite get
this
that.
ring. So
Yeah.
this is a puzzle ring that was gifted by Yuri Gagarin to Crichton's dad, and then
okay.
Crichton's dad gifted
Right.
it back
No,
to
I get
John
that.
as
Okay,
a
I get that. Yeah.
That's your good luck charm. Yuri Gagarin gave you that.
Oh, listen, you hang on to it. You give it back to me tonight, okay?
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, Yuri Gagarin did go on a world tour of.
yeah.
After thing, he was never allowed to go to space again. Although he did die in a plane crash.
Oh, did he?
During a training accident, so like you never know like if that was a training accident, if they actually wanted to get rid of him or not.
Yeah.
It's a good way to make a hero of the Soviet disappear or something.
And a hero is what Crichton turns out to be. Like after he uses this distraction,
Yeah.
he seizes one of the weird looking weapons from the
Yes, it's like
holster
a
of
bit
one of these guards.
like the noisy cricket we have from.
I know it's little and it doesn't really have
and
like an
it shoots,
aperture.
and it shoots like yellow bolts, which are like
Yes, everybody freeze or I'll fill you full of.
Little yellow bolts of light.
And there's like an unnecessarily
I was so
long
disappointed.
scene with Tentacles about like who's going to unlock whose cuffs first.
Yes, but it's also a very important moment for Crichton. Like he has two ways he can go.
Right.
The third solution is you unlock me.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the keys, and then you see Dargo like futzing with it for a while to try and unlock himself, which he can't do before he dates
Yes,
it.
yeah.
And like Crichton sort of accepts this.
Yeah, true.
And then he talks to Aeryn,
Yeah.
where she stores like I can't betray it. This is my breeding. This is my birth.
Is my duty, my breeding. Since birth, it's what I am.
Yeah.
And he says to her,
You can be more.
"You can be more."
I mean, what's her plan at this point? Is she like playing the long game, or is she actually betraying her people for fear of being like painted with the broad brush of being exposed to aliens too much?
I don't even think that she knows at this point.
Yeah. cut back to the bridge of the Moya, right, where they are suddenly being accosted by the battleship of
the command carrier,
Commander Organa.
A full command carrier is bearing down on us,
which is like, I mean, how did that change? That was what was happening earlier on. It's like they're making it sound like this is a new thing, but like no, that's it's the same bloody ship that was shooting at them before.
But they got away from it first.
Yeah, true.
They used the starburst. Technology to be able to arrive on an entirely different planetary system.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, the command carrier had caught up, and now they're back in trouble.
And they're
has guns.
And they're readying their big rolling guns.
And what range are they effective at?
They ask her, they ask Aeryn.
What is the range of their frag cannons?
Very good.
Yes, Aeryn's son.
Very good. Aeryn Brockovich, that's right. Now they're in it together. Now, all of them have the same level of fear of those guns.
We're going to get shot at, and like they know that they're effective at 40k, whatever.
Metras is the...
yeah.
And they have no way to escape.
Which makes no sense. They're railguns. They're in space. They don't have a limited range.
Are they?
Isn't that what they're called? They're shrapnel guns.
Frag cannons.
Frag cannons. So frag stands for fragmentation. So they shoot some sort of fragmentation type shrapnel thing.
I mean, there is a frag grenade. But
yes.
Is that officially called a frag grenade?
Ooh.
And
it's
also,
called a fragmentation grenade, and it's shortened to
fragging in military jargon has other connotations as well.
Yes,
specifically,
it's killing your commanding officer with a grenade. Ultimate vote of no confidence.
No confidence, field demotion.
Yes.
But so they have no way out because they can't starburst again because Moya's too tired. She's just too tired.
Yes, she's already starbursted, and she only has 3 starbursts.
Her stars burst.
Oh, dear. And they rely on Mr. Crichton and his Farscape technology to... push the ship through the atmosphere.
Now, I didn't quite know what he was doing because he asked for paper. I need paper. He had a pen. Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why he's a scientist.
He was just trying to make his calculations because apparently he knew the orbit and everything else that was necessary for these.
Yes. How does he know about the mass of Moya?
That's big.
How does he know about the mass of the planet?
That's really big.
The thickness of the atmosphere,
gravitational,
all that kind of bullshit
the composition of the atmosphere.
But yet he manages to use the gravitational acceleration through the atmosphere, reduction, bouncing off the atmosphere,
who
type
knows?
thing to suddenly speed off at such. Was it called again? Unrecorded speeds.
If they're unrecorded speeds, just record
and
them.
And it jumps them right off the sensors of the battleship.
Now, it was a complete surprise to everyone on the Moya.
No, Moya, just Moya. I just have to
like it.
train myself. I just have to train myself out of saying the.
Babe, you get to name shit. This is your first time.
True. Let's just go with Moya. I like the name.
I know it's great. And so on the crew on Moya is entirely unfamiliar with this, but. The blonde lieutenant standing next to Captain Crace, because they're about to...
Sir, the Leviathan, she's
I can see that, Lieutenant.
As if they know this maneuver.
Oh.
But Aeryn doesn't recognize. She doesn't appear to recognize what she's being told to do.
At first they were really surprised when they were accelerating towards them and suddenly zoomed past them, and they were like completely taken aback by that kind of maneuver. Whereas apparently, if they know this thing, then maybe it's like it's the forbidden maneuver or something. It's like it's one that breaks the space lanes and like destroys the life on the planet that's close to it.
Oof.
Have I been watching too much Star Trek again?
You're not wrong. I mean, the last time that we saw this maneuver being used, it
launched him into the...
seemed to cause a wormhole.
I suppose, yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Lucky that didn't happen this time.
Or maybe not. Like, I mean, it would have ended the series pretty damn quick if it had. And it's like, oh, look, we're back in Earth orbit. Like, now we've got like 4 very confused aliens trying to, like, how does it feel being on this side of the coin, eh?
All right, here's a question to you. This is the first episode of Farscape.
Yes.
How long do you think it will be until they arrive on Earth?
Oh, are they arriving on Earth?
Will they?
Oh.
And how long do you think it will... How many episodes do you think it will get? Episodes or seasons or whatever? Do you have like a wild guess at this point?
I did not have the expectation of that happening. I think if it does happen, it'll happen about 2/3 of the way into season 3.
All right, let's see how... Yes. Okay, you heard it, everybody. We've only got probably about 60 episodes to go until we're 2/3 of the way
year and a half or so.
We'll see you then. I hope you like binging shit. Meanwhile, our heroes
have escaped.
Finally safe, and they're all together and they're all out of cuffs.
Yes.
And now we start to see this family being formed. Everyone's on the same page. They all kind of understand and respect each other. And so, of course, Dargo grabs Crichton by the throat and slams him against the wall.
Because,
I'll
kill you if you like take away my freedom or something. Because like he's been nothing but helpful, but now he
But if you threaten my freedom, I'll kill you.
Well, he did escape from his cell.
That's everybody's right.
Until the sort of Farscape maneuver, he was never helpful because he doesn't know anything. He was
but he was like
Crichton the cretin.
He helped him escape from the planet.
That's true.
He literally did the opposite of like endangering his freedom, and yet he gets slammed against a bulkhead.
I did kind of ding that because they had the sort of ecstatic moment of escape where they're all super relieved. I mean, speaking of relieved, Zan pushes her cheek to Crichton's, and
he gets the sexy hug.
She gives him an eargasm.
Yes, that's like there was a little sound effect there, which I went like, yeah. And he goes like, oh, like there's something running down my trouser leg now.
I mean, that's a nice way to say.
And
thank you.
then we get the short sharpening scene where he's like going with this piece of
because
cloth.
The thing about this show, like all these characters,
dull sword.
Yeah. They are real people and they have their own thing going on, and they can feel this togetherness in moments of heightened emotion, but then they like calm down and they think about, what do I want?
And they go back to taking care of number one.
Yeah.
In a way. Yeah, and we've got the little adorable scene where he does the repair of the little scuttlebot.
Come here. I'm not going to hurt you. Come here.
Yes.
And
fixes his eye with tape.
Yeah.
Like that.
Like tape is like a human invention. Like
exactly.
Nobody has ever thought of the concept of tape.
Well, they do have the sort of glue gunk tendon cuffs that they're wearing.
Oh yeah, was that gunk on them? I thought they were just like mechanical. But okay, fair enough.
No, he talks about like,
how about you get this stuff off my wrists?
Get this stuff off my wrists.
Oh yeah.
Do you like my American accent? Get this stuff off my wrists.
Right. Yeah.
Says
right. That's a great.
There's a lot in there because it was filmed in Australia. That's why you've got Australian actors.
That makes sense. It's like how Star Wars was like all the baddies in the Imperium are like have British accents because it was like filmed at.
And those were the actors who were there.
We're dealing with the cheap English actors because you get them locally.
And we finish with a monologue. Crichton talking to his dad.
Hey, Dad. It worked. DK's in my theory. It actually worked.
Over a tape that he's brought, a tape recorder.
Oh yes, he's like leaving a little a voice log for his father in case he ever gets it.
While he's fixing this little dude, he's pulled some of his equipment out of his module.
Yeah, so what is that? I was wondering about that. Like, what is this module that he pulls out of the ship? What's so important about that thing?
Your equipment may be worth something in trade.
Oh, I imagine that it's a blaupunked car radio that he doesn't want anyone to steal.
My equipment. It's mine.
I guess that makes sense.
I mean, there is Rigel running around. He would definitely pawn.
He would steal everything he can get his hands on.
Cassette player.
Yeah.
Are you a sound sleeper?
So the thing that I noticed most is like it kind of fails to set up, or no, maybe not fails, it doesn't set up an expectation of some sort of galactic conflict that you get thrown in or anything. There's no immediately present arc of what they're going to do with this series.
No, that is very correct. I remember feeling that as
that kind of jumped
well.
out at me. It's like, okay, so like we had an episode and lots of stuff happened, but there doesn't seem to be a direct motivation or general purpose other than just like direct survival and like see where things go. And I'm very curious to see if they maintain that or if there's like.
Well, I think that was definitely something about the early phases, like giving themselves space to just discover what the show was going to be.
Yeah.
And like it was a process of discovery because so much of the effects and the designs were like real. Like one of the things you see Rigel the puppet like eating food.
You have some food?
Yeah. And that looks great.
Like because he's like stuffing food in his mouth and it's like.
And when they saw this puppet doing that and it looks so great, now he's a glutton. Like that's going to be his main motivation. Because it works, so we're going to keep doing that.
Like he's apparently a little bit, like loose fingers. Like it's like what's mine is mine and what's thine is also mine. And or at least, I mean, like as a ruler of whatever the planet was, apparently he's used to being able to like, this is mine. Oh, this is mine now. I touched it. It's mine.
You had your turn, and now it's mine.
See, this is okay. Now, I don't want to put anything in your mind because that's absolutely not the case. But when I first saw it, I thought maybe he was full of shit.
Oh, just a con man who's just like, I used to be the ruler. Yeah, I see that.
Like a Dominar Rigel the 16th, the ruler of 1,000 planets.
I'm Rigel the 16th. Domina to over 600 billion people.
No, that's a very good point. I hadn't considered that. I kind of bought into it. It's like, which might be his thing.
Because
like,
he's such a good huckster.
Because he's like, oh, who are you, you pleb?
I don't need to talk to you.
But in the meantime, like, he is so, like, it's realpolitik, like, it's market, like, he can spend hours and hours haggling
over. Yeah.
What noble, what prince
would do that? Yes.
Would ever get that kind of experience? But he does.
Yeah, very good point. I'm curious to see how that's going to develop.
Yeah, same.
I think I am very curious to see how all of it is going to develop.
Right.
It's like it's all left very open, and there's no cliffhangers left open.
Right.
Like we clearly have Captain Organa, who's going to be chasing them through the galaxy and showing up at the most convenient times.
Definitely.
And that's him again with his ship, and
and
he's
still fantastic moustache,
and he's still he's still on our crusade, like to avenge his brother who was killed in a car accident.
With a stationary car.
Yes, exactly. He blames the guy who was like not even in the car and sitting down in the diner down the road because his brother can do no wrong, and therefore it was like murder most foul. But yeah, so he's going to be showing up whenever it's like he's kind of like the military commander in the A-Team, and like that's kind of like how I see this developing. It's like, you know, have the A-Team and they're going to be doing their thing. They're going to be like going through the galaxy and helping people where they can and looking out for themselves. And then occasionally, whenever we need some dramatic tension, then the military commander is going to show up to like chase them and like shoot to them a little bit, and then they're going to escape again, and then it's like back until the next hijinks.
And then they'll construct a new vehicle out of plywood and shoot some people unconscious, and then book them, boys.
I don't quite see that happening here, but
hey, it's gonna go places.
I think it's gonna go far.
Scape?
Yeah,
that's a good catchphrase. Let's think about whether that's going to be. It's going to go Farscape. Farscape out. Well,
oh dear.
So next time we're going to be back here and we're going to talk about the second episode. We are watching it in the correct order. The original airing order was kind of wonky.
Because they were doing a Firefly?
Yes, no, exactly. Like the network where it aired didn't have a lot of confidence in some of the early episodes, and so it moved them around.
They tried pulling a few of the more exciting ones forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like get people invested, and then we'll play the rest. And like,
but we're watching in the correct order where it like deals with the correct like character development. So the next one is episode 2, IET. A persistent alarm is set off deep within Moya, and her crew discover that a tracking device has been activated.
Oh.
Anxious to avoid discovery by the peacekeepers, Crichton suggests landing on a swamp on a nearby planet.
Oh, so we're going back to George Lucas's backyard again?
We'll see.
All right.
Excuse me, Master Jedi.
I am looking forward to watching the rest of this.
I can't wait. You can find us at So Farscape on Twitter and Facebook and on sofarscape.com. I'm Khaki.
I'm Kay.
So Farscape, so good.